Are you thinking about making a move from the Chicago area to the Nashville, Tennessee area? If so, you are not alone. Over the last 5+ years, we have continued to see Chicago be one of our top 5 main feeder cities of people relocating to the Middle Tennessee area. And so in today's video, we're going to be diving into why people from Chicago continue to choose Nashville over and over again. We're going to be talking about things like different jobs, housing, cost of living, taxes. We're going to be tackling all of that and more in today's video. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin Martin and I am a local Nashville real estate agent and founder of the Caitlin Martin team, powered by 𝐋𝐈𝐊𝐄 Realtors, the Andrews Group. I specialize in working with savvy sellers who want to sell right and sell smart, as well as working with out-of-staters looking to relocate to the Middle Tennessee area. Now, if this is your first time stopping by my channel, thank you so much. Please feel free to click subscribe down below so that you are notified anytime I release new video content. So in today's video, we are talking about why people from the Chicago area are choosing to move to the Middle Tennessee area. Like I mentioned in my introduction, we have continued to see Chicago be consistently really in our top 5, but more realistically in our top 3 feeder cities over the last several years. So we're gonna be diving into why, the differences between Chicago and Nashville, and we're just gonna be taking a look at what is the appeal, why are so many people moving here. So let's go ahead and dive on in. So first up, we are going to be talking about cost of living, because one of the biggest drivers of why people continue to choose the Middle Tennessee area when they're trying to pick a destination when they live in the Chicago area, it's because your money goes further here. That is one of the #1 drivers. So we got to talk about cost of living. So when you look at Chicago, on average, the cost of living is 20% higher than the rest of the US. Now compare that to the Middle Tennessee area, where we're just sitting just under the national average. So when you look at a cost of living scale, a lot of times it operates off of 100. So if you are below 100, if you are 90, 89, 85, that's saying that you are below the national average, which they consider to be 100. Then if you are over that, of course, you're above the national average. So the Middle Tennessee area, as of 2023, has a cost of living index number of 98.5. So we are right there at the national average in terms of cost of living. But if you actually dial that in just a little bit more and you look at the Williamson County area, so if this is your first introduction to the Middle Tennessee area, so Nashville, the heart of Nashville, downtown Nashville, that's Davidson County. But we are seeing a lot of people choose Williamson County, which is just below Davidson County. This is where you're going to find towns like Brentwood, Franklin, Nolensville, Arrington, College Grove, Thompson Station, part of Spring Hill, Fairview. So when you're looking at that, Williamson County is actually going to be higher than the national average, just by a little bit, where it sits at 2.9% higher. The reason why Williamson County is going to vary from the Middle Tennessee area in general when it comes to cost of living is just because real estate is higher. Real estate is the biggest driving factor in terms of why that cost of living does tick over the national average just a little bit. But again, even if you're looking at Williamson County and you're looking at 2.9% over the national average compared to 20, again, your money is going to go further in the Middle Tennessee area. Now let's take a look at income taxes. This is another huge reason why people are choosing the Middle Tennessee area. When you look at Illinois, it actually has a flat income tax rate of 4.95%, which I'm sure you are well aware of. Here in the Middle Tennessee area, we actually have no state income tax. So that means, again, more of your money back in your pocket instead of going to paying taxes, which I will consider a win any day of the week. But if we're talking about taxes, yes, we have no state income tax, but we do have to talk about sales taxes. That is where you start to see us be a little bit higher. It's going to vary from county to county in Tennessee, but in the Middle Tennessee area in general for sales tax, you are looking at 9.25%. So that is one way that you sort of start to offset the income tax. But again, we have no state income tax, which is fabulous. Then we also have to talk about property taxes, because this is another thing. I have helped several families relocate from the Chicago area, and property taxes is one that always starts to blow people away and really is a big appeal for moving to the Middle Tennessee area, because our property taxes are considered to be so much lower than that in the Chicago area or in Illinois in general, because Illinois actually has the second highest property tax rate in the nation, whereas Tennessee is actually going to be sitting on that lower end when it comes to property taxes. So when we're talking about property taxes, we got to talk about what they look like in the Middle Tennessee area, because we do not have like one specific property tax rate. It varies county to county. And property taxes, it's actually based off of this funky formula, which if you want to learn more about just how our property taxes are calculated, I actually did a video on that, so you can check it out right here. I did it for Williamson County. But again, it's going to be the same formula no matter where you are. It's just the tax rate will vary depending on which county you're in. However, if you're wanting a good general rule of thumb, now when you look at these property tax rates, if you look at them and you calculate it, because the rates are expressed as dollars per $100 of assessed value, not appraised value, of assessed value, and the assessed rate always ends up coming in lower than the appraised value. So it's going to be dollars per $100 of assessed value. So if you take that and you're just wanting a good general rule of thumb, if you're looking at Williamson County, the property tax rate ends up to be averaging at about 0.57% of the value of the home. Now, Davidson County is going to be higher. And again, Davidson County is right around the heart of Nashville. Davidson County did a 34% property tax hike in response to COVID and the 2020 tornado that came through downtown Nashville. So when it comes to Davidson County, the property tax rate is going to be 0.88%. And again, each county is going to vary a little bit. Sometimes you can have county tax and city tax just depending on where you are. But again, overall, our property taxes are going to be far lower than they are in the Chicago area. So also talking about taxes, another statistic that I want to talk about really quick before we move on is that a recent survey came out, and when it looked at the way all of the states across the US are taxed, Tennessee came in as the third lowest tax state. It was only Alaska and Wyoming that took spots number 1 and 2. So again, overall, do we have a higher sales tax? Yes. But in general, we are taxed far less here than most of the US. So that's one thing to keep in mind, because again, like I said, your money goes further in the Middle Tennessee area than it does in the Chicago area. Now, when it comes to housing, don't get me wrong about any of this Chicago stuff, because I have been to Chicago. It is beautiful. I love the beauty of Chicago. But again, there's just going to be differences, and there's reasons why people are moving. But when we look at the type of housing, a lot of times they're in downtown Chicago. You're looking at those beautiful sky rises, those high-rise condos, luxury high-rise condos, beautiful brownstones. You do have that type of housing. Whereas in Nashville, obviously downtown Nashville is going to be much, much smaller than downtown Chicago. We still have great luxury high-rise condos, but again, our area is smaller, so you do have the opportunity to get single-family homes in a more suburban type setting, just a little bit outside the city. And the great thing about Nashville, one of the other reasons why people continue to move here, is that we have so many different types of neighborhoods. We've got neighborhoods that are filled with their own vibe and style. And so because of that, there's a little bit of something for everybody when it comes to the Middle Tennessee area, whether you land in Davidson County, whether you land in Williamson County, or one of our other nearby counties. There's just a little bit of something for everybody. You can have city living, you can have farm life, you can have lake life here, you can have the good old suburban neighborhood feel. Just depends on what you want. We have luxury properties across the board in many different categories in terms of housing. So we just have a lot to offer. In fact, speaking of the luxury market, as of last year, Nashville was actually ranked as the #1 luxury market across the US just because of the different types of luxury living that you can have. Now, this isn't just geared towards luxury living either. There are different options for different price points, which is great. And again, it's part of the reason why people are moving here. Now, one thing to know as we talk about neighborhoods, we do need to talk about public transportation, because I know that Chicago has great public transportation, which makes it really easy to get around. So you don't have to be in a car as much as you do in Nashville, because truth be told, we have a very, very basic bus system. And that's about it. We are in desperate need of public transportation, especially as Nashville continues to grow, which it is expected to. A couple of stats for you real quick. Just because we continue to grow, we have seen businesses relocate their headquarters here, which means more people are moving here for jobs. We have people moving here for personal reasons, but we are expected to have another 200,000 people relocate to the Middle Tennessee area by 2025. And then according to a study out of the University of Tennessee, another 1 million people are going to be moving to the state of Tennessee by 2040, with 57% of that landing here in the Middle Tennessee area. So we're going to continue to grow. So that means that as people come in, our officials are going to have to figure out a public transportation system, because our infrastructure, that is one of the downfalls of Nashville. And again, I realize Nashville traffic is not the same as Chicago traffic, but we have noticed that our infrastructure, we are not built to handle the massive amount of growth that we have seen recently. And so there are going to have to be solutions put in place just as the Middle Tennessee area continues to grow, because when it comes to public transportation, we are definitely far behind Chicago when it comes to that arena. Another reason that we have got to talk about why people are moving to the Middle Tennessee area is our weather. So I know that the Chicago winters can be absolutely brutal. And the good news is here in the Middle Tennessee area, generally speaking, our winters are far more mild. I say that because in December of 2022, we actually reached single-digit temperatures, which is not our norm by any means. I think the last time we saw single-digit temperatures was, I think, around 5 years ago. I've been in the Middle Tennessee area 10 years now. So I have seen a variety of different types of winters, but overall, generally speaking, our winters sit between around those like high 20s to low 30s for lows, and generally in the 40s to 50s for highs. So we just have a far more mild winter. We don't tend to see a ton of snow. Now, a couple years ago, we had like 4 snows in winter, which was unheard of for our area. Most of the time it's going to be a small snow or a dusting, but generally speaking, far more mild winter. Now, on the flip side of that, we do have hot, humid summers. So if you can come to visit in summertime and you can deal with our heat and humidity, you can survive anything, because that typically, in my opinion, is our most trying season in terms of just comfortability outside. I love warm weather, but our humidity can almost feel really suffocating at times. Generally speaking, the worst of it is going to be July and August. So really you're looking at 2 months out of the year. And I always like to tell people when you're moving to the Middle Tennessee area, it is always great to be near water, whether that's your own personal pool, a neighborhood pool, a lake, just because a lot of times when our temperatures creep up with that humidity, it just doesn't feel great to be outside for long periods of time. So that's why having that body of water somehow can really help offset the humidity. Now, we have beautiful spring and fall. Fall is personally my favorite time because generally speaking, you have the warmer temperatures, but the humidity is gone. And fall, with the leaves changing, it's just absolutely beautiful. Springtime, we can deal with some more showers. I did do a longer extended version of just the weather in the Middle Tennessee area. So if you're more curious about that, I talk more about like flooding and tornadoes, because I know that's something that people are concerned about. You can go check that video up out here. I like to tell people, do we deal with flooding? Yes. If you're concerned about a flood zone, it's very easy for us to be able to check whether a home is in a flood zone or not, so you don't have to worry about that. And just because one or a couple of homes in a neighborhood may be in a flood zone, it doesn't mean the rest is. Generally speaking, homes that are really, really close to the Harpeth River can be at risk. But again, we have tax records that have been updated since the flood of 2010 that show us where the major flood zones are. And that's very easy for us to check for you guys in terms of just if a house is in a flood zone or not. And when it comes to tornadoes, I do like to tell people, do we have them? Yes, but generally speaking, and I always like to say this because I feel like the moment I say it, something bad's gonna happen, but generally speaking, those really massive twisters that you see online or on TV from other places, especially in the Midwest, fingers crossed, thankfully that's not typically what we deal with here. Typically what comes in is gonna be more straight line winds, which can be damaging and it can cause damage to roofs. But typically we have the threat of tornadoes more than the actuality of tornadoes. But again, we did get hit in March of 2020. But if it gives you any good frame of reference, the last time that we got hit similar to the way we did in 2020 was back, I believe, in the late 1990s or the early 2000s. So, I mean, big span of time between each one. If you are super concerned about tornadoes, there certainly are things like storm shelters that can be added to homes. So there are solutions there. Do we deal with them? Yes, but we typically deal with the threat more than the actuality. Now let's talk quickly about crime and homelessness, because I know that that can be something that plagues Chicago. Now, I don't believe hardly any area in the US is completely immune from crime or from homelessness. However, one of the biggest things that I've heard, especially from other clients that I have helped move here from other major cities in the US, is Nashville and our homeless population. We are not overrun with homelessness in the way that other cities are. Generally, our homeless population is not even aggressive. Like, I've heard stories that other homeless populations can be in other parts of the country. So do we deal with it? Yes, but it's not nearly on the scale that it is in other major cities. And of course, Nashville is not immune to crime either. But again, however, a lot of our more violent crime is going to be lesser than it is in other major cities across the US. So that is something to keep in mind. And then let's also talk about the job market before we finish up, because I know a lot of times people are asking me if they are transferring jobs or if they're looking for new jobs here, how hard is it to get a job? So when I was looking at statistics, one of the biggest things about Nashville, and this is a phenomenal statistic for us. So all of the jobs that we lost during COVID, we have not only recovered all of those jobs, but we're actually up now 9.1% in terms of jobs that not only, again, did we recover completely, but we have now added into our economy. And so that's actually, that 9.1% actually equates to right there at 96,000 jobs. And yes, Nashville is known as Music City. So of course, entertainment and music is one of our big industries, but surprisingly, it's not the biggest. Of course, tourism and hospitality is big, but we are also really gaining speed in our tech sector. That has become one of our top 5 major job sectors. Healthcare is also up there, along with advanced manufacturing. Now, we continue to have companies relocate their headquarters here because, again, they love the business-friendly tax advantage that they can get here, which means they're bringing more jobs here. So Nashville has been very, very fortunate. So with all of that incredible job growth, we actually have an unemployment rate that as of March 2023 was sitting at 2.5%. So if you are looking for a new job in Nashville, there is plenty of opportunity. And again, our job economy continues to be really, really strong, which also helps fuel our housing economy, which I know that there's a lot being said in the media and the headlines about just the housing market, but in a separate video, I'm going to be addressing again just what's happening in the Nashville market. But it's statistics like our job economy that helps plays into it, that puts Nashville on a really positive trajectory. And then of course we compare that to Chicago, which as of February 2023, which was the most recent statistic that I could find, they were dealing with unemployment at 4.4%. So again, you can see that our job economy is moving along a little bit better than that of Chicago. And these are a lot of the reasons why people are continuing to move here. Nashville is just on this wonderful trajectory upwards, just in terms of the growth that's happening, the jobs that are coming here. We are very, very fortunate to live in the Middle Tennessee area. And so if you are thinking about making a move from the Chicago area to the Middle Tennessee area, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Relocation is my specialty. I would love to connect with you. If you're ready to start that conversation, you can actually click a link down below and book a Zoom discovery call with me to talk more about your potential move. If you're not ready for that just yet, that's okay. I actually have a free Nashville relocation guide down below that you can click and download. And if you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. All of my contact information is below. Again, my name is Caitlin Martin. I'll see you next time.